Ever wished you had like a wise friend? Just like always there in your head, helping you make those tough decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's kind of the idea behind Adam Smith's The Theory of Moral Sentiments.
Okay.
And today we're going deep into this book.
All right.
Exploring how Smith saw our emotions as our moral compass.
Interesting.
Not just logic,
Yeah.
But first,
Okay.
let me tell you about mindful moments.
Okay.
It's your secret weapon to unlock knowledge on the go.
Ah.
Imagine absorbing the brilliance of thinkers like Adam Smith while you're, walking the dog or waiting in line.
Yeah.
All thanks to the power of AI narration.
Cool.
It's like having history's greatest minds as your own personal podcast guests.
I like it.
Check it out at link provided.
Okay.
So back to Smith.
All right.
You might know him from his later work, The Wealth of Nations,
Yeah.
where he championed self-interest in economics.
Right.
But in The Theory of Moral Sentiments, Smith takes a different approach, arguing that sympathy, not just self-interest, is the glue that binds society together.
That's right. Smith saw sympathy as the ability to step into someone else's shoes and feel their joys and sorrows.
So it's not just rationally understanding someone's situation.
Exactly.
It's about actually feeling what they're feeling.
Yeah, and this ability to share in the emotions of others is the foundation of our moral judgments.
Okay, so how does this sympathy connect to the idea of an impartial spectator that Smith talks about?
Well, the impartial spectator is like this wise observer that we cultivate within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's the voice that helps us judge our actions, not just by external praise or blame,
Okay.
but by an internal standard of what is appropriate and decent.
So it's not about what society dictates.
Right.
Or what will bring us the most personal gain.
No, it's about aligning our actions with this internalized sense of what's right.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Smith goes beyond just outlining this concept of an impartial spectator.
Uh-huh.
He dives into specific virtues that he believed are essential for a moral life.
Yes, he outlines virtues like prudence,
Okay.
justice, beneficence, and self-command.
So these aren't just abstract ideals.
No, Smith saw them as practical tools for navigating the complexities of human interaction.
Interesting.
And each virtue, he argued, involves finding a balance.
Yeah.
Take prudence, for example.
Right.
It's not just about being cautious or selfishly protecting ourselves.
Right.
It's about making wise choices that align with our long-term well-being and allow us to live a fulfilling life.
So it's not just about avoiding risks,
Exactly.
but about making choices that lead to true happiness and fulfillment.
Yes. Then there's justice, which Smith saw as stemming from our natural response to harm, what
Okay.
he called resentment.
Now, he's not advocating for revenge here, right?
No, instead he's saying that our inherent sense of fairness is what drives our desire to see justice served
Right.
and balance restored when someone has been wronged.
It's like our innate sense of fairness is the foundation of our legal systems. Our social contract's everything.
Absolutely.
We naturally want to see people treated fairly, both ourselves and others.
You've got it. And Smith argues that this desire for justice needs to be tempered by another important virtue.
Right.
Beneficence, or kindness and generosity towards others. He believed this flows naturally from our capacity for sympathy. When we can truly understand and share in the joys and sorrows of others, we're inclined to act in ways that benefit them.
So we're not just seeking retribution when we see injustice.
That's right.
We're also driven by a desire to help to create a more harmonious world.
Exactly. But Smith cautions against excessive self-sacrifice. Beneficence, like all virtues, needs to be balanced.
Yeah.
It's not about becoming a doormat,
Right.
but about finding a sustainable way to contribute to the well-being of others while also taking care of ourselves.
This brings us to the final virtue. Smith highlights self-command.
Right.
It sounds like it's all about keeping our emotions in check.
Right. Smith saw self-command as the virtue that allows us to moderate our passions and act in accordance with reason and propriety.
So think of it as the inner strength that helps us resist those impulsive urges.
Exactly.
Whether it's indulging in, another slice of cake or lashing out in anger.
Exactly. And Smith believed that self-command was essential for cultivating all the other virtues. Without it, our good intentions can easily be derailed by our passions. Now, you might be thinking, if morality is all about feelings and sympathy, doesn't that make it subjective?
Yeah, where does justice fit in?
Right. Wouldn't we end up being too lenient on wrongdoers if we let our emotions dictate our judgments?
It seems like there needs to be a balance between empathy and a firm sense of what's right and wrong.
That's precisely what Smith argues. He saw sympathy as a powerful motivator for social harmony, but not as an excuse to overlook wrongdoing.
Okay.
Our sense of propriety, that internal judge we've been talking about, would prevent us from excusing injustice just because we understand the perpetrator's feelings.
So it's not about letting people off the hook,
Right.
but about recognizing the complexities of human motivation and finding a just response that takes into account both empathy and accountability.
Exactly. And Smith goes even deeper, exploring how societal norms, what he calls custom and fashion, also influence our moral judgments.
That's fascinating. It's like our moral compass isn't just internal, it's shaped by the world around us.
Precisely. Think about how different cultures have varying levels of tolerance for emotional expression.
Okay.
In some cultures, it's perfectly normal to openly weep in public, while in others, such displays are seen as a sign of weakness. Smith argues that these customs, even seemingly arbitrary ones, have a profound influence on our perceptions of what is considered appropriate and moral.
So even our sense of right and wrong is influenced by the prevailing social norms of our time and place.
Yes, and Smith even extends this idea to aesthetics, arguing that fashion influences our judgments about beauty in art, architecture, and even writing styles. He points out that we're often unconsciously swayed by these trends, thinking we're making independent judgments when we're actually being nudged by the prevailing winds of custom and fashion.
That's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how much of what we consider good taste or moral behavior is truly our own, and how much is simply a product of the society we live in.
It's a crucial question, and it leads us to Smith's critique of theories that base morality solely on utility or what's useful or beneficial.
So he wasn't a fan of the whole the ends justify the means approach to morality.
Not entirely. He acknowledged the importance of considering consequences, but argued that our sense of what's right often goes beyond a simple cost-benefit analysis. For example, think about someone who makes a promise under duress.
Okay.
A purely utilitarian view might say, if breaking the promise leads to a better outcome, then it's morally justified.
Right.
But Smith argues that our sense of honor and the importance of keeping our word often outweigh those utilitarian calculations.
It's like that saying, it's not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. Even if breaking a promise could technically lead to a better outcome, we might still feel morally obligated to keep our word.
Exactly. For Smith, morality isn't just about calculating outcomes. It's about living up to our values, even when it's difficult. And this brings us to another fascinating aspect of Smith's moral philosophy, his emphasis on the internal rewards of virtue.
So it's not just about avoiding punishment or seeking external praise.
Right. Smith believed that true virtue is its own reward. He argues that we have this natural desire for praiseworthiness, not just praise itself.
Okay.
We want to be worthy of admiration, not just for the sake of appearances, but because it aligns with our internal sense of who we want to be.
It's like we're driven by a desire for inner peace and self-respect that comes from knowing we've acted in accordance with our values.
Exactly. And this ties into Smith's discussion of the limits of reason.
Okay.
While he acknowledged reason's role in moral judgment, he ultimately saw it as secondary to our innate moral sense. He critiqued philosophers like Hobbes, who believed reason was the sole arbiter of morality, arguing that our moral judgments are often rooted in deeper, more intuitive feelings of sympathy, resentment, and propriety.
So it's not just about cold, hard logic.
Exactly.
It's about cultivating a sense of empathy and understanding what feels right in our hearts, even if we can't always rationally explain it.
Exactly. Our feelings provide the raw material for our moral compass, and reason helps us refine and apply those feelings in a way that aligns with our values and the well-being of society.
This makes me think about how we approach moral debates today.
Yeah.
We often get caught up in arguments about who's right and who's wrong, but Smith seems to be suggesting a more nuanced approach.
Absolutely. He recognized that human motivation is complex, and that even seemingly bad actions can sometimes stem from misguided good intentions or a lack of understanding. He encourages us to approach moral questions with humility, recognizing our own limitations and biases.
It's like he's calling for a more compassionate and understanding approach to moral discourse, one that recognizes the shared humanity of even those we disagree with.
Precisely. And this is a message that feels particularly relevant in our current climate of polarization and division.
Yeah.
Smith reminds us that building a more ethical and harmonious society requires more than just enforcing rules and punishing wrongdoers.
Right.
It requires cultivating empathy, promoting open dialogue, and creating spaces where individuals feel safe to express their emotions and refine their moral compasses through experience and interaction.
So it's not just about telling people what to do,
Right.
but about creating the conditions where they can develop their own moral sense and contribute to a more just and compassionate world.
Exactly. And that's one of the most profound and enduring insights that Adam Smith offers in the theory of moral sentiments.
Yeah, it really is amazing how much Smith's ideas still resonate with us today.
I know, right?
Even though he wrote the theory of moral sentiments like centuries ago.
It's crazy.
It really shows his deep understanding of human nature, I think.
Yeah.
His insights about what drives us, both the selfish and the sympathetic parts, they're just timeless. I agree with you. This whole concept of the impartial spectator, it's really stuck with me.
I know, me too.
It's like he's saying we all have this inner compass, this voice of conscience that can guide us toward a more fulfilling and ethical life.
Exactly. And Smith believed that cultivating this inner voice is an ongoing process, a journey of self-discovery and growth.
So it's not just a one-time fix. It's like a lifelong practice of becoming more aware of our own motivations and striving to align our actions with our values.
Precisely. And Smith emphasized that this journey isn't meant to be undertaken in isolation.
Oh, really?
He believed that social interaction plays a crucial role in shaping our moral compass.
Okay.
By engaging in open and honest dialogue with others, we learn to see the world through different lenses and develop a more nuanced understanding of human nature.
It's like our moral sense is constantly being honed and refined through our interactions with the world around us. We observe the actions of others, witness the consequences, and feel the emotional ripples that spread through our communities. All of this feeds back into our own understanding of right and wrong.
You've got it. And this dynamic view of morality is what makes Smith's work so compelling. He recognizes that we're not born with a fixed moral code.
It's okay.
But rather develop it through experience observation and a willingness to learn and adapt.
This makes me think about how we often frame moral debates today.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into this trap of us versus them.
I know, right?
Of seeing the world in black and white terms.
Yeah.
But Smith seems to be urging us toward a more nuanced and compassionate approach.
Absolutely. Smith recognized that human motivation is complex, and that even seemingly bad actions can sometimes stem from misguided good intentions or a lack of understanding.
Yeah, it's like he's calling for a more understanding and forgiving approach to moral discourse, one that recognizes the shared humanity of even those we disagree with.
You got it. And that's a powerful message, particularly relevant in today's world, where polarization and division seem to be on the rise.
Yeah.
Smith reminds us that creating a more ethical and harmonious society requires more than just enforcing rules and punishing wrongdoers.
Right.
It's about fostering empathy, encouraging open dialogue, and creating spaces where individuals feel safe to express their emotions and refine their moral compasses through experience and interaction.
It's about recognizing that we're all on this journey together,
Exactly.
striving to become better versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And create a more just and compassionate world.
Exactly. And Adam Smith's The Theory of Moral Sentiments provides a brilliant and timeless framework for understanding how we can navigate that journey with wisdom and empathy.
This has been an incredible deep dive
I know.
into a truly thought-provoking work.
I agree.
If you're ready to explore the depths of Smith's moral philosophy for yourself, we highly encourage you to pick up a copy of The Theory of Moral Sentiments.
Yeah.
You can use the link below.
Yep.
And for more mind-expanding explorations of the great thinkers and ideas that have shaped our world, be sure to subscribe to Mindful Moments.
Please do.
You can unlock the wisdom of history on the go.
That's right.
With our AI-powered narration, making even the most complex ideas accessible and engaging.
I love that.
Don't forget to share this episode with your friends who are also curious about the world and hungry for knowledge.
Yes, please do.
Until next time, keep those impartial spectators working overtime.